Oh my goodness. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Sorry, I'm laughing here because I just caught my guest in the green room and he jumped, and that just really made me laugh. But I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to the Naomi Empowers Show. We do this every Sunday at 8 p.m. British summertime, 3 p.m. if you're on the East Coast, and midday if you are on the West Coast. It's so great to be able to have another opportunity to be with you all, to share with you all. For those of you who perhaps are new to the Naomi Empowers Show, the whole why do I do this? This is really about giving a platform to inspiring people in my life, to successful entrepreneurs who are out there doing their thing, but have a story to tell and have valuable lessons to share. I think that it's important that we become intentional about sharing the knowledge and the inspiration and the education and the wisdom that's within our community, and sharing it amongst us so that we all have the opportunity to grow, to learn, and to develop and to do it together. You see, oftentimes we see people who have achieved great things, but we don't always know their backstory. And I believe that there is oftentimes more valuable things to learn in failure than there is perhaps in success. So the Naomi Empowers Show is pretty much a private conversation between me and one of my good friends, but in a public setting. So if you're looking for inspiration, empowerment, and life lessons, you are in the right place. And this is your weekly dose. We do this every single Sunday. So as usual, I want to know where's everyone tuning in from? So do leave us a comment in the, in fact, I always forget to do this. Let me correct myself. For those of you who have so wonderfully joined us on Facebook, we do this on Facebook and on YouTube simultaneously. If you're joining us on Facebook, please go ahead and press the share button. It will be somewhere on your screen. I don't know exactly where, but wherever it is, go ahead and press that share button. We want to make sure that the message that's going to be shared this evening, that as many people get to see it again and again and again. So go ahead and press that share button. And if you are one of the people like the Dream Days Network or Desire to Inspire, if you are joining us on YouTube, go ahead and press that subscribe button. But don't forget to press the little notification bell so that you can be notified every single time we go live with another episode of the Naomi Empowers Show. And so I see we got Phoebe tuned in. He says right here in East London. Welcome, Phoebe. Thank you so much for joining us. We got the Dream Days Network on again with us, and we have Desire to Inspire You. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining. And I can see there's more people on. I don't know why you guys are feeling shy. Okay, we got some more people speaking up now. We got Miss P sitting at home in the West Midlands. Welcome, welcome. We have Keisha Morgan, West London. Thank you so much for joining us. We have my good friend Phil, who's joining us from Bracknell, and we have Bianca joining us from Germany. Thank you all so much. Now, for those of you who are in the UK, you probably oh dear. Oh, and we got Mr. David McQueen. David, hey, thank you so much for joining us. It's been too long. A catch up is way overdue in sunny Hertfordshire. Well, I'm in West London, and right now it is actually pouring with rain. So I'm glad that you got some sunshine where you are at in your corner of the world. Okay. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you. Right, now, for those of you who are in the UK, you probably heard that on Friday, it became mandatory. Is it law? I don't even know. I haven't really been following, for people to have to wear masks when they go into shops and supermarkets. So I had to go to the post office on Friday. It was my daughter's birthday, guys. I've got an 8-year-old girl now. She turned 8 on Friday, and I had to go wearing my mask. And honestly, like, I don't know about you all, but I think this just absolutely looks ridiculous. I won't say what I look like, but I'll leave it to your imagination. But yeah, how are people finding this whole mask thing going on? I don't like it. I really don't like it. Feels very uncomfortable, but I guess gonna just have to get used to it. Oh, the comments are still coming in. Hey, I've definitely got to bring up this one. Joanna. Hey, Joanna, thank you so much for joining us. This is family. This is Pete. Well, I'm also PB's. This is Paul's sister, our special guest for today. Thank you so much for being with us. And I saw Bianca asked about my foot. So some of you may know, when was it? Gosh, a couple of weeks ago or last week, whenever it was, I sprained my ankle so badly. It is doing much better. I don't look so terrible when I'm walking on it anymore. So thank you so much for asking. Again, for those of you who don't know, and I sometimes do forget to do this, this has been a very productive lockdown period for me. And some of you may be aware that I released a brand new book called Success, the Inside Job. And that's available on Amazon, both as an ebook and in paperback. So if you haven't already done so, please go ahead, head over to Amazon and make your purchase. And please don't forget to leave a review. So I'm really, really excited about the guest that we have on today. I'm going to be really transparent and let you all know that the person that I'm interviewing today has been a feature in my life literally as early as I can remember. He's just been there. I was interviewed sometime last week, and I shared with people that there are very few people's opinions in this world who actually matter to me. And there are even less people that I will go to for advice. And outside of my parents, my guest today is one of the 3 people in the entire world that I would ever go to for guidance, advice, and that I actually do. Every major decision that I've made in my life, he has been there, he has been consulted, and he has helped to shape my life. He's been consistent from GCSEs. I'm sure I've been driving him crazy since then. GCSEs, A-levels, my first degree, my master's. He's been there through the whole way, and my business decisions. He is absolutely amazing. And I feel so privileged to have a man like this in my life who I can turn to and know that he's just consistent. He's always there. And he's a bag full of wisdom. And you know what? I'm going to shut. I'm getting a lot of abuse right now from him. So I'm going to stop. And I'm excited to introduce him to you. Some of you have been privileged to have him as a friend also. So if you know this man, you know that you're definitely in for a treat. And for those of you who have never met him, believe me, you are going to be blown away by this evening's session. And today, I will honestly say, I cannot promise that I will let you go bang on 9 o'clock like we seldom do anyway. But this one, I know definitely is going to go beyond an hour. People have been looking forward to this. So I'm going to show you a short video before I introduce my very, very special guest. And once the clip finishes, the next face that you will see, and maybe even the next voice you will hear, is the wonderful, the amazing, the supremely talented, gifted, the phenomenal Paul Boldo. Stay tuned, guys.
I think I want my legacy to be one whereby I'm remembered for honesty, for openness, for fairness, definitely justice. I think those are the things that I learned from my grandmother, from my mum, my dad. And I guess the legacy is one of integrity, being authentically me, in whatever way I need to be.
Hey, PBs.
You trying to make me cry?
Oh my goodness, really. Paul, thank you so much for joining us this evening. How are you doing today, sir?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah.
I
have to say, a message from Phoebe just come in. I'm gonna need you to fix your face. Oh my gosh. Do you know what, Paul? It's funny. after we got off the phone earlier, and I was actually starting to think about, putting even the little intro video together and preparing for our discussion today, I actually started to feel a bit emotional. And thinking about the fact that, gosh, literally through every major junction of my life, you have been there. Now, I normally don't do this. I normally don't do this. But, I just have to say, there are very few people who've been as consistent as Paul has over the years. Paul has been a mentor to me. I have both formally and informally been under his tutelage. He's added so much value to my life. It's just I can't even put it into words how much this man has done for me over the years, even at times when I could not stand him. Trust me, anytime it was anything to do with assignments, uni, I just think, oh, please leave me alone. But you know what? Despite all of that, it's nothing but love, Paul. Honestly, and I have to acknowledge that publicly in front of everyone to see that, you have been such a huge influence and made such a huge impact on my life. And I know that I would not be who I am today if it weren't for you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I genuinely.
All right, Nay. Bloody hell.
It's gotta be said. So Paul,
yeah.
I know that exactly, Shay. Stop it and take the compliments. Now, I know that there are going to be a number of people on here who this is the first time that they're coming into contact with you. There are many friends online. I can see, a number of people who definitely know you. But there are going to be those who absolutely don't. And I guess so, I give all of my guests the opportunity to introduce themselves. But I'm very specific about the type of introduction I want. I don't want the humble version. I want you to bring all the receipts out the bag and you let people know exactly who they are dealing with. So tell us, who is Paul Boldo?
And I guess that's one of the hardest questions that I always find. I learned a couple of years ago that I'm a generalist. I'm not a specialist. And I learned to have respect for my generalist approach and my generalist thinking. I learned to realize that I'm a thought leader, that I often think in both macro terms and in micro level. I can do that. I'm all about being impact driven and working on impact driven projects and driving things through to a satisfactory end.
Satisfactory? Or something a bit more than satisfactory?
Satisfactory in the widest sense of the word, as in it meets all the criteria. It touches everything. I'm a session singer. I've produced shows. I'm a generalist, literally. I think everything that I've touched, my dad says it to me and I actually believe him, seeing as I'm going to own my value.
Right.
Everything I touch turns to gold, and it always has done.
Yeah.
Gold doesn't have to be perfect, because it's not perfect. Gold is something that is able to be built upon. It's something that can be formed and shaped. And so I am proud of those things.
Good for you.
That's me.
Paul, thank you. Thank you for obliging and going. There's more learning now. I warned Paul, before we get on, look, please, no humility today. But you know what? That's also part of who he is. And I think that's part of what makes him such a beautiful character as well. But honestly, when I say to you all that you have someone so special on your screen right now, please, if you don't know him, take my word for it. And even I'm certain that by the end of our session together, that you most certainly will think so too. Now, here's my moment of transparency. And I shared this with Paul a little bit earlier, and I want to share it with you all too, so you know where I'm coming from. And I want to actually apologize to you all in advance. This is without a doubt one of the most challenging interviews that I've actually done on this series. And it's because of who it is. It's Paul. And Paul is lovely. Yeah, he's the sweetest thing going, and he's never uttered a terrible word to me that wasn't in jest. However, I think because of his awesomeness and because of who he is and what he does, that can, for me, and I realized it can be a little bit intimidating to then be like, okay, well, now I'm leading you in a discussion. And, you know, when I have to speak with people, I don't really get nervous when it comes to speaking to people in a public setting, or, you know, facilitating or moderating a discussion or whatever. You know, I don't feel that. But with Paul, I certainly do, because he has taught me so much of what it is that I know, and has been such a huge influence on me. So it's almost like the student kind of trying to lead the teacher. That's how it feels.
You tried to say I'm old.
Pardon?
You tried to tell me I'm old.
No, not at all. Well, you might be, but you know, but so I want to apologize in advance, because I need to really stay present and in the moment in order to do my best with this, because I'm battling my own things internally as well, and because this is making me feel super emotional. So I'm already seeing that I've lost track of the of the comments already, and so I apologize if I'm not as on it with the comments today, but I will try at certain points to bring them up. So I also see we have Madeline McQueen. She's listening too, and where's this comment? And I don't know if this is going to be the case, which is, you are not going to make us cry today. Oh no, not us. And I'm going to try and hold it together. I really am. Today I'm actually going to try, but you know, we're going to go there wherever it goes, Paul. That's where we're going to go.
I'm in.
Okay, so Paul, the fundamental question that this show is actually built on is a question about life lessons. Now, I have been someone, as you know, as an admirer, as someone who's been inspired by you from since I was a child. I've seen you do incredible things. I've seen high moments. I've seen low moments from you, and your journey has been phenomenal to watch. It's been inspiring, and it's inevitable that along that journey, you've had some really, really powerful, painful, exciting, a whole mix of emotions, all different life lessons that you've learned along your way. And it might be challenging to do, but I guess I really want to know, what would you say is the most valuable life lesson that you've learned along your journey? And why? I think I'm gonna be a bit cheeky and add that on. I don't normally ask that question, but what's the most valuable lesson and why? That's my question for you.
My grandmother said to me once, she said to me, she must have been 70 something. And she says to me, you're never too old to learn. And I was like, okay. And she said, if I could do things differently, I would have done. And she said, even at this age, after my grandfather had passed away, she said to me, I'm still learning about me and my life. So actually, my life lessons have been pertaining to my life moments. So I've got many life lessons, and they are life lessons that I have to build upon and sometimes remember and sometimes refresh my own self, but they are life lessons that I continue to learn. I think one of the life lessons that I learned, and I've been learning them more recently, kind of being more aware of it perhaps, is to live with integrity. Authenticity I get, but to live with integrity feels slightly different. And it's something that I learned maybe about 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And it came up again this year, encouraging me to live with integrity. Why? I would say I've got to be the one that sleeps at night. I've got to be the one that is able to answer about what I've been doing. So I've learnt that, for example, I only associate myself with people that I can trust. I've got to feel it. If I don't feel it, that's okay. We can separate ways, but actually, for me, it's really important that I trust, and that trust causes me to operate with integrity, and I assume the same thing back in return. So that's what I think one of the life lessons would be.
That's one of them.
Mm.
Do you feel it's the most? Do you feel it's been the most powerful lesson in terms of your development thus far?
Yeah, maybe. I reserve the right to change my mind.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because I think as the conversation goes on, there'll be something else that comes up that's more important. But I think the integrity piece is the most important part that comes to mind right now.
Paul, when people throw around this term integrity, I, through experiencing other people, I have definitely seen that integrity must mean different things to different people. Mm-hmm. Or some people are just not telling the truth when they say that they are filled with integrity. What does integrity actually mean to you?
Integrity means I listen to me. It means that I keep checking in with me. Integrity means that I get to speak my truth to those people who are around me.
Yeah.
And I open myself to being criticized by them and them calling me out on my bullshit. I swear, sorry about that. I'm not really sorry. Sorry, Laura. Laura, yeah, I think those are the things that also that you know, kind of guides me towards living with integrity. Yeah, I don't cheat, I don't lie, but those things are hugely important because oftentimes we're doing it to ourselves without even realizing it, and it erodes us of our own self when we lie to our own self. So sometimes integrity is also about me speaking my truth to me and owning it. Like in many of my conversations with friends, I can acknowledge that while I'm cussing you, Nay, about your struggle putting in this assignment, I'm also speaking to myself.
Yeah. And
so I'm okay to reflect sufficiently to ensure that I'm talking to myself even as I speak to you, because that's human too.
You said something interesting, and again, I'm probably going to be picking at a lot of what you're saying, because I believe it's there's a lot in it, and a lot of what you say is quite loaded, and I don't want to miss it, and I don't want anyone watching to miss it either. When you talk about owning it, I wonder if you could break that down further to help us all understand, what do you mean? Because a number of times, you know, in the past, I'm thinking about other people who've come on and have given these, you know, we've done these interviews and they will talk about owning. What does that actually mean to you?
Owning it for me is about acknowledging where I am, where I have been, but also where I need to get to. And those 3 points are key. And that's why I often describe life being a journey.
Absolutely.
Because I have to acknowledge where I've been. What is my context that I'm coming with? How do I see it today? Am I driven by my emotions, by my thoughts, by my feelings, by what is going on all around me, by jealousy, by what are all of those things, the stuff that makes up that moment today?
Yeah.
But also owning where I really want to be. And I think my life, if I reflect on it, my life has often been like that. There's been moments where I've had to focus on where I want to get to. And you know what, us as Black people, often we think about where we want to be. But we kind of ignore the 2 parts, where we've been and where we are right now. Us as religious people do it even worse. It's all about what is to come. Actually, there are 3 components to being able to make peace with this moment and to know where to move forward to. And so I think, I often own the three components.
Yeah.
I often own those three moments. Where have I been? What's the context? Where am I right now? And where do I want to be?
Paul, I want to go back a little bit to the lesson that you shared about living with integrity. You used a term about leading you towards, being living with integrity. To me, that suggests there was a time in your life, perhaps, when that wasn't the case for you, when you weren't living with integrity. So I guess the question is twofold. Number one, was there a time when you weren't living with integrity? And number two, sorry, guys, listen, there's going to be a lot of unexplained laughter.
Facial expressions. Oh man. Okay, yeah, go on.
Was there a time when you weren't living with integrity? And how did that impact you or affect you?
Yes. There was a time when I didn't live with integrity. And it's not because I was necessarily living a lie, although I was, but it's because I didn't realize what integrity meant. So we do talk about these things and talk about integrity, but actually, do we actively understand what that means? What that means to me.
Us, yeah.
I did not get it. So it meant that there was a moment when the light bulb went on and I realized this is what living with integrity means. Do you actually want the example?
Oh, well, I was about to come to it. I was about to say, can you please be a little more specific?
I grew up, I was the middle kid. So intrinsically, I was very shy.
Yeah.
Anybody that knows me knows that when I was a kid, I used to hide behind my mum's big 70s maxi skirt. Even speaking to people that I already knew, I found that really difficult. As I grew older, I began to realize that there was part of me that was always fighting that. So I found myself in situations where I was just silent. In situations where I could not and would not speak. Not because I didn't have a mouth, because obviously I have mouth, but it was because there was part of me that I couldn't connect with. And actually I wasn't taught to connect with it. My sister, infinitely by far better than me. She knew her own mind. I was a middle kid. I looked above and saw hell raining. I looked below and saw spoiled beasts.
Yes.
I sat in the middle and was just mediocre. And that's how I would have remained. My sister was an academic, by far more intelligent than me. My brother, I don't really know what he was, but he certainly was more than what I was. Had more friends, blah, blah, blah. I was just the shy one in the middle. And at some point, I realized that I was living in a very incongruent way. And I'll be honest with you, I was a big man.
Define big man.
Oh man, the first time the first time I felt like I was a man was when I was 30.
Wow.
That was the first time I actually felt like a grown man at 30. What the hell is that?
Well, my question is, what did you feel like before?
A child.
Can you, okay.
Walking grown man, pushing key and door, but felt inside like a child. It was bizarre.
Okay, there's so many questions, and I'm going to try to put a pin here. I know what my brain is like, but I see the comments are going up, and I have not really been engaging. So let's just bring up a few that's come up. Shay says, can we handle what it really means to live with integrity? I'll give you a chance to respond. Let me bring a few more. Madeline says, you can only live what you know. If you have been conditioned to live in a particular way, you may not even truly know that you are not living in your own integrity. It's powerful.
And that was me. I didn't know. And I know often people think that I'm a real church basher. I don't really give a damn. But I'm not, because I think, Nay, you and me never truly fitted in. We were trying to be square pegs and round holes. Like, we
And let's give some context so people know when we say we, what we're talking about. So Paul and I had, in many ways, quite similar upbringings. One of the major ways is that our fathers were both pastors, and we grew up as the dreaded PKs. And I can say I hated it. I hated it. And I think my reason for hating it was because I, in some ways, even today, up to this present day, within that community, I do not have my own identity. I am always seen as pastor's daughter. If I am in certain areas of London, especially where my dad has perhaps pastored before, and someone sees me with my two children, oh, your pastor's daughter, you know, it's never Naomi. It's always pastor's daughter. And then what that comes with, I don't like. It's almost the job that my dad has chosen, therefore somehow must magically mean that my life, my decisions are going to, you know, be in perfect alignment with that. And that's just not who I am.
And I think, therefore, I was never permitted to explore who I truly was.
Yes.
Because I was still trying to fit in. I got it, but then there was always part of me that could never really gel with it. And so, so all of those factors just caused real confusion about who I was. Didn't get it until I was 30.
Let's go pre-30. I'm seeing the pastor's kids are really showing up today. Phoebe's showing up, PK massive. My sister Danielle is also showing up with PK crew. I want to just go backwards a little bit to those feelings of confusion and feeling lost. And I wonder if you can relate, Paul. I remember being a PK, and here's the thing. I didn't want anyone, and even though these church people would, I didn't want people to judge my dad unfairly because of what me as a child did. I didn't want people to feel that what's the term that there's some foolish, no, let me not say foolish, something, you know, these kind of thought processes that church people often have about pastors or elders and their families. If they can't control their own home, or if they can't, whatever the thing is, then how can they lead the church? And so because I didn't want, but I was my own person, you know, I don't know what other teenagers are like, because I've never not been a pastor's kid, but I can't really speak, you know, definitively about what other teenagers are like, for example. But I know that my parents could not dictate what I did when I was out of their sight. Of course, they would do their best to train you up, but then once you're out, like, you do whatever the hell you want. So I didn't really see that. I just thought the link was a bit weird. But anyway, so what I would do for the sake of peace, Paul, is I would put on various masks. And so I would describe myself as the perfect chameleon. I could fit in inverted commas, to any crowd, but at the same time not fit into any crowd, as not actually really fit in. So I would have my PK mask on a Saturday and be church people needed me to be. I would then have my head teacher's daughter mask, and in school be the person who they needed me to be. When I went to college, I'd have that mask on, be who they needed to be. And I remember getting to the point where it's like, I've woken up and I've got all these different masks on. Who the hell am I? I'm lost. I don't know how to live with integrity, because I haven't given myself the space to understand who the hell I actually really am. I don't know if you can relate to that at all.
I totally can, and I experienced it in a very similar way, but from a different point. So I did everything that they needed me to do. I was the PK that would lead out in church. I did not drink. I didn't smoke. I didn't have sex. I was that kid. I was that one. I was that one.
You embodied it. So you actually
embodied it. Yeah. In fact, my dad says I was one of the few that actually believed it. I believed wholeheartedly in it. But then I begun to understand that actually, even though I demonstrated that I believed in this thing, there was also part of me that didn't get it. I didn't get why young women were treated the way that they were. I didn't understand why there was only singing, preaching, or serving. Those are the only three things you could do. I didn't get it. I didn't get why their programs wouldn't make sense. And so that's when I started to think about creating something entirely different. Something entirely different, David, that caused me to operate differently. Even though I had these beliefs, I was still understanding that that was not the right way. Couldn't be. It only applied to a few people. So I needed something else. And all of that caused me to explore and have to understand me, because I didn't get it before. Fundamentally didn't get it.
Paul, you talked about a time when you had this light bulb switching on, that light bulb moment, where everything started to make sense, I guess. I want to dwell a little bit longer when you were in the darkness, when you hadn't had that light bulb experience. And I really would like to, with your permission, dig into how it affected your mental health and your emotional health. What was it like actually living with this internal conflict and this battle, and not actually living with integrity? How did that actually play out? Because, and I guess the reason why I'm asking is because for me, I could put the mask on for a time, but then I got to that point where it's like, okay, I'm lost now. Who am I? And it had a really negative impact on me. And so I want to know if, when you were in that period of darkness, when the light switch had not come on yet, what was it like for you? What did you experience?
In retrospect, lived in compartments. I lived in compartments. So I'm able to compartmentalize my life within an inch of itself. And actually, I still do it now.
Okay.
Less so.
Okay.
Because it's a process.
Yeah.
I still live my life in compartments. And I said it to my dad a few weeks ago. Church is the first place I learned to be a liar.
Wow.
So for all the good that it gave, church is the first place I learned to lie. And maybe that explains why my life, I live the way I do now. Speaking up against, social injustice and opening my mouth when I need to, and focusing on piece of work that means something to me. Because I'd lived for so long lying and pretending. In fact, actually, maybe I didn't live my life like that. Maybe I saw them living their life like that. They, in fact, I lashed my own self. They were the liars, not me. Because I actually believed it.
Yeah.
But I saw that they were the liars, not me. They pretended. They said that this is how you're supposed to love, show love, show love. Be kind, be kind, be kind.
Don't see it.
Forgive. Nothing. And then I was expected to base my life and how I lived my life on them name. I was like, that ain't happening. No. But that struggle is still in me. That struggle to live with integrity and to speak my truth while not having to compartmentalize. Still having to live that and challenge that, because I learned that from my formative years.
Yeah.
Totally did.
Like, I'm looking at the time already and I can't believe it, because it feels like we've just been chatting for 5 minutes. I did warn everyone. I know this is definitely going to go over, and we are nowhere near ready to wrap up. I still feel like in many ways this is a bit of an introduction. Again, I've been ignoring the comments, gosh, and I'm going to try and bring some of these in right now. Faith says, we all sadly struggle with this at one point, stepping away and finding your own truth. Tia says, some people even judge you if she's a pastor's daughter and behaves so. He can't preach to me. Absolutely.
My dad was quite good like that. I remember, bust out the business, I don't care. He was at Hampstead, and I was chewing gum in
oh gosh,
G's. I was chewing gum in G's. And this woman come and said, she went to tell me off. And she did the worst thing. She brought me to my dad to complain that I was blah, blah, blah. But the way she approached him, she said, and he's supposed to be the pastor's son, setting an example. My dad roasted her.
Good for him.
With fire from on high. His mouth, yeah. His mouth open like a garbage. It devoured her. And it was simply because, and he explained it to me afterwards, he said, nobody should ever be putting you under that kind of pressure. He said, I was the one that went into the ministry, not you. And so from that day, we knew very clearly that was his thing, and not ours. We appreciated that. We absolutely appreciated that.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing, Paul. Hold on. Let me just try and bring some of these points. These people, they're going in with the comments like I cannot keep up. Would love P to speak on integrity being seen as a rebellion, and how we teach a younger generation to navigate this, churched or not churched.
It's so interesting because even with this Black Lives Matter movement and so on, there is so much work for us as Black people to do in understanding the power that the religion had over us. Nay, when you were younger, you had the lip liner. What did I do?
Tell me to rub that off.
And that's what we did.
Yeah.
When Shay wanted to wear,
yes, I remember at camp meeting, I remember.
When Shay wanted to wear earrings, we would say to her, you can't go up on the stage with the earrings.
Yeah.
Inadvertently, self-expression was being dampened continually. We taught you to be embarrassed or to not embrace your youth because you had to do it this way, because anything other than that was a type of rebellion. So it's not a surprise that so many of us grow up and we are not risk takers.
Yes.
Because when we were in our formative years, when we should have been allowed the scope to be able to express ourselves like any other young person does, all we were doing was continually being told off for the fact that we were being one way, but it was wrong. So ultimately, I begin to learn that having integrity or being on a journey in part is also about my rebellion. Oh, that was not a rebellion. You putting on a lip liner at 13 was you
Black.
pushing the boundaries, just doing what you want.
Black.
The black, and it was harder. She put it right or wrong, she mold. But mate, you know, that's really important, because I think some of our children will ultimately grow up in the same way if we don't manage ourselves. Your children should never have to grow up with the same kind of pressure to conform to their standard. I mean, blood.
Oh, I love Paul.
If they were the shining examples, then I could say yes.
Yeah.
Then I could say yes. But how many of us have to go through a church system where we do not fit in, and yet our difference is seen as rebellion? How many of us have to go through that? Where our difference is seen as rebellion? No.
Paul, I need to, oh goodness, sorry, these comments are coming in very quickly and I'm losing it. There's one that's come in that I want you to address nicely, please. Claudia says, it's a shame some of us go to church and take notice of what people say as opposed to our relationship with God.
Actually, I think that's what it's supposed to be. Controversial. But I think that's what it's intended for. Because if it was about your relationship with God, then fundamentally, how much billion people, where's my niece? How much billion people on the earth? Well, if it was about relationship with God, then there's going to be 8 billion different relationships with God, yeah? Therefore, I cannot speak to yours, you cannot speak to mine, because it's between me and the divine. So church is all about social control. I don't know if it's a shame. I do hear you. I do get it. Who was it? I can't remember who it was, Claudia. I do get it, but I think that's what it's supposed to be.
A question has come in. Do you think this is why a lot of pastors' children leave the church after realizing that they couldn't be themselves?
Actually, I don't think it is a lot of pastors' children. I think children, young people, full stop, leave the church. I don't know that they're any different from non-pastors' kids. I think the point is young people will leave when the church refuses to acknowledge that they have a voice, they have a space that they are developing, and that needs to be permitted. So I think they're ultimately going to leave no matter who them there.
Thank you for answering. We got a comment from my cousin Zoe. Really hope we can help the next generation to see authenticity and integrity as the basics, not an act. Oh gosh, sorry, I haven't got my glasses. My children broke them. And not an act of rebellion.
Can we just stay with that one for a minute?
Let's stay there.
How do we teach the next generation to see authenticity and integrity? Surely there is something about that requires you and me as the older ones to first be able to be authentic and to live with integrity.
Absolutely. We have to demonstrate it.
Yes. When my niece was born, my sister and I spoke, and my sister was like, I want my daughter to grow up and to love people. I don't care whether it is black or white, love people. She knows she's a black girl.
Yeah.
The black girl that rocks. But she must also know she must grow up learning to love people. So we went out with her godfather, and there was a work colleague of his that he'd seen, and she was head to toe, tattoos, nose rings, blah, 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 blah. Malia's so used to going up to people and just hugging them when she's with us, you know. Hi, this is so-and-so. She goes up and hugs them. Well, she did the same thing. This woman was emotional. She said, kids normally are frightened of me. And I was like, because we've taught my niece what my parents taught us, which was to love people, full stop. That's what we got taught. We didn't care whether Jew or Gentile, black or white.
Yeah.
We just were taught to love people. And so that's what we have to pass on. We've got to intentionally do that.
I've just seen something from Olivia that I have to, this is why I've been smirking somewhat.
Go on.
It's right. Nay and I debating in one thing about Olivia, she always knows the years down to the year. Like, I never know when anything happened, but I can count on Olivia to come with the year. Nay and I debating in the LYF forum was not rebellion. It was us having integrity and calling out nonsense. And then David comes in and says, no, that's rebellion.
That's
and
right.
that we needed beating. Metaphorically, he throws in.
Yeah. Sally Ann's question is quite interesting.
Does being authentic and having integrity mean that you cannot be part of the church?
Being authentic and having integrity has nothing to do with being in the church.
Nothing to do.
It's a human position. It's who I am. And it's not dictated to by an organization or religion. That's the key difference for me. I knew that I had to be this, whether inside the four walls or outside. So when I was, one of my pieces of work, I ran a choir for people living with HIV. And it was bizarre to them that I would come in and hug them and it wasn't an issue. Like, well, I didn't know at the very beginning. I was quite ignorant to HIV and all that whole area. But actually, hugging people is who I am. Being warm to somebody is who I am. It's not based upon a religion. It's based upon my humanity. So therefore, I can just do it and I'll learn afterwards. Like, I genuinely believe that if we were to all think about our humanity first, rather than any of these other things, we would get it just a little bit more.
Paul, I've got a question. And my question is about, there's that whole nature nurture argument. And you've spoken about, being on a journey. But I want to know about the how now. If you have been a certain way for X number of years, you have this moment, this epiphany, this light bulb switches on, and then you move from one state to start to transition into another state. How do you do that? And the reason I'm asking is because there may be some people who are watching this, whether live or on the replay, who recognize that they are not living with integrity, or they perhaps want to live with more integrity, but have not yet figured out how, because what they have been taught is not to. So how did you do it in a really practical way? Break down how you did it. I need to ignore the comments for a minute.
First thing, I saw that I wanted to live being alive to humanity.
Say that again for me, please.
I was aware that I wanted to live being aware of my humanity.
Okay.
Number one, and not based upon a religious belief or a religious system. B, I think retrospectively, I put myself in environments where I couldn't judge, where I didn't know enough, where I was largely inexperienced. Because when you and I can do our MBA, Nay, but it's only when you take it outside of the classroom and apply it outside that you know what you've learned, right? Yeah. So if I become alive to my humanity and I want to understand who I am so that I can live with integrity, then I have to test it. Otherwise, I'm no different from them, which is living in a kind of bubble. Actually, go outside that damn bubble to.
Yeah.
Do you know why I get so frustrated? I think because they've almost got the perfect formula.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? They've almost got the perfect formula. What do you mean?
Well, be kind, love, show unity, blah. You know, they've got it. They've got the language.
The practice.
But it's the practice. It's chatting shit. Like, for God's sake, you've got the formula. That's what you say is the good news. And you see down inside. No, go outside.
Yeah.
Go outside. That's where I learned it. In fact, I was once working in a place, I was running a mentoring project in Islington.
Yeah.
And the guy that taught me to be a Christian was atheist.
Wow. The guy who taught you to be a Christian was atheist.
Because he showed me, in fact, actually, maybe I'll redress it now, because actually he taught me to be a Christian, and that's what I understood then. Now I understand that he taught me to live with integrity, because he showed me that the parents that we're working with and the children we were working with required love. Well, I was just ticking the boxes because that's what you do for work. He was saying to me, well, no, from a humanist perspective, show them love and we're good. And he said to me, Paul, but that's what you've been showing them. And I didn't get that because I hadn't married the two together.
Right.
Because I'd lived in compartments. Actually, I got it. I was like, people need to see us show love. They can see that. We're good.
Yeah. The thing about cliches is that there's often a lot of truth to them. But I'm always keen to understand what people mean, simply because I guess, like what you're saying, oftentimes people say things and do something else, which either means we don't have the same definition or simply that they're just not living with integrity or in an alignment to actually what they say.
Sure.
When you say show love, what does that actually mean?
I think showing love to me, showing love and we are all good. Maybe showing love is about me showing love to me first. Yeah. Because I think I grew up not really loving me anyway. Because I didn't know who I was. How could I love what I don't know?
Yeah, yeah.
But therefore, some of that journey was also about me loving me, learning to appreciate my good and my bad, learning to work out that actually it's not really bad, it's just a challenge. Maybe it's learning that actually that's one of my sensitive points. I had to wrestle with me. And when I could show me grace, show me kindness, and forgive myself, and it made it easier to do it for others. So it was, yeah.
Let me stop you. Show yourself kindness, show yourself grace, forgive yourself. Again, it sounds to me like there were times when you didn't do that, and maybe the opposite was true.
Yeah.
Can you think of examples or times in your life that you'd be willing to share where you didn't show yourself, where you weren't kind to yourself, when you didn't show yourself grace, when you didn't forgive yourself?
I think the easiest example, and probably the earliest that I can remember. See, I'm an empath. I know that about me now. One of my earliest memories was I was in the sweet shop near my house, and I saw a kid steal sweets and got caught. I must have been about 6.
You say got caught?
Yes.
Okay.
The kid got caught. And I remember internalizing this to such a level that I'm not entirely sure anymore if it was somebody else or if it was me.
Wow.
Because I lived it. I remember going home and I went straight to bed. My dad was like, my mum and dad were like, what's wrong with him? And I was in bed and I was feeling the embarrassment. I felt feeling the shame.
Yeah.
All of those things so acutely.
Yeah.
And that's lived with me for years. It's lived with me for years. And I can pretty much go through my mind and remember different moments when I would beat myself up internally as a matter of course, just because that's what I did. And I think that's when I understood. Now, when I look back, I understand that that reliving those moments where I haven't forgiven me ultimately ends up destroying me. And there's been numerous other times, numerous other moments in my life when I've not fundamentally forgiven me. I've not been kind to me. There's numerous other times. And I still relive it. And that takes a lot of unlearning. I've got to deconstruct it. I have to actively say to myself, let it go. Keep going on about it in my mind.
How do you, if you're living with guilt, for example, how do you let go? Because again, I'm the reason I'm kind of laboring on these sorts of points is because I know that we can be good with the theory, but again, I'm interested in the practice. I would love for everyone who's listening to be able to take things away that they can practically apply to their lives, and be like, okay, well, this is what Paul did, so I'm going to give this a try. How do I let it go?
That's a process, yeah? It is no secret that when my dad remarried, I didn't like Catherine. It's not a secret. I had to actively learn to let that go. And that was a journey. That was a journey. I can say I love her now, but that was an absolute journey for me because there were parts of me that were tied into who Catherine represented that was difficult for me.
Sure.
You know, it was tied into my memory of my mum, and I was still dealing with that, and I couldn't make sense of it. And so that process of forgiveness, it literally was a journey. And I've had people tell me, no, you need to do it now, you know, and I'm like, I've learned this is a journey. I'm just blessed that I'm able to get to the point where I can move on and make peace with my feelings and so on. I'm just blessed that I can do that. I'm totally blessed that I can do that. You know, but it is a journey. And, you know, if I'd have known that then, you know, years and years ago with you, Nay, I'd have put on a damn lip liner for you. I'd have gone and get lipstick and put it on, knowing it's a journey.
Yeah.
I'd have not been so worried about Shay putting on her earrings. I'd have not been worried about it. We'd have held you, and we'd have held you through that journey. And I think at times I've looked back at my own journey and realized that there's always been people around that could hold me during those times when it was difficult, you know. And so because of that, I can now do the same, and we can teach others to do the same. So it is a journey and a process, and there is no, you know, formulaic thing. You've just got to keep working at it to be kind to you. Yeah, it's true. All of our journeys.
Paul, you talked about having people around you. And I know that I can speak for many people who are watching this now, whether live again or on the replay, who say that, Paul, you are such an inspiration. and I'm not about to go on a rant about how wonderful you are. I am going to ask you a question. And I guess the question is, who and what inspires you?
I think I am inspired by many people. Yeah, I think I'm inspired by many people. I think part of me now is always appreciating the inspiration. So I begin to look for it.
Okay.
So I might have a conversation with somebody, had a conversation with a videographer today, and I found the way that he was replying and really getting the brief that I was giving, I found it inspirational. It filled me with joy.
Yeah.
So I can have many of those moments by many different people. You know, I don't know, yesterday was quiz night with the family. My niece answers a question about that's really bizarre, but I'm inspired by her knowledge. You know, and so I can be inspired by many different people. If I look around and think I don't know who inspires me and I can't see it, that's the time to be worried. Because actually we constantly need those kind of people around us that can, we need to be looking for those people that just shine a light on this moment and be like, wow, that's what it is today. That's what it is for this moment, you know. I really appreciate that.
Oh, sorry, that's not the one I meant to bring up.
Too late, that's what you did.
This is the one.
Yeah, absolutely, Mel. Smelly. Look for the gold in people. And it's a proactive approach. And thereby, even on my down days, I can still feel inspired. And we're going to have the down days because it's a journey.
Yeah.
But if there are people around you that can hold you up, you know, yeah.
Paul, do you believe? I'm just thinking on the back of Melanie's point. Do you believe that we all have gold in us?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Takes time sometimes.
To refine.
To work out what it is, to work out that it is gold. Sometimes we don't even know it's gold. We're taking the thing a stick and we don't realize it's gold.
Yeah.
We've all got it in us. And I think if I had to be critical of my parents, I think the one thing, because they didn't have it then, I guess, in their thinking, but the one thing would have been to help me know what my gold was. Help me know what my gold was. Because when I was a kid, I didn't know. And I couldn't work it out. Love you, PPs. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what my gold was when I was a kid. I was not an academic. When I was 13, 14, well, I was a middle child. What? I had no concept. I was not a leader. I was absolutely a follower. I was bullied madly at school. Like, I didn't know who I was. I had no idea.
I want to ask you something, just to be a bit more specific. You said, you know, when you were growing up, you didn't know what your gold was. Is that you saying that you didn't know that you had gold in you, or that you were gold, or you just didn't know how to identify it?
I didn't know how to spell gold. There was no gold. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't know there was a thing called gold. I genuinely didn't get it. I genuinely didn't get it. I think that, yeah, that's all I had, a big hair. I didn't actually get it. I didn't actually get it. And I think that is so sad for a kid to have grown up and not had any idea what they were good at. I mean, I was good at the 100 meters, eh?
Is it?
Yeah. I was the second fastest in Barnet.
Oh, wow.
could never beat this ginger boy. He used to beat me because he was so much taller than me.
She's spelling it for you.
Right. But I didn't get it. And I wish I did, because I went through the whole of my 20s believing that I wasn't even good enough to do an A level. Because I didn't know what my goal was. No idea. Spent the whole of my, when I left secondary school, didn't even believe I could write an essay. Did not believe I could even write an essay. So I dropped out of my A levels. Didn't go to uni. Went and got a job, and I would have stayed in the job because I didn't even know what I wanted to do or who I wanted to be. No damn idea.
Paul, hold on. I need to bring this up. Michelle says, I'm trying to help my daughter find her gold and not confuse what I think her gold should be and what her true gold really is. It's an issue. What would you say to Michelle? And I see that Olivia says it's same thing. What would you say? What would you say to these ladies?
I think there's something about the characteristics. You see, culturally, maybe we've been so focused on education and career that that's what we think gold is. For my niece, though she is as bright as a button and intelligent as hell, she's also deeply kind. She's so damn funny. She's articulate. I think those are the things as well that we must see as gold. We've got to challenge ourselves as to what gold looks like. We've got to make them know that their skin color is gold, that their thick lips are gold, that, you know, the way you carry yourself is gold. You are just gold. Because the more we pour into someone, into these kids, I think the more that they begin to see themselves as having value, not based upon, oh, you get an A star here, and oh yes, you get. What is that if they have got no personality? What is that if they've got no integrity, personal integrity? That's where we've got to sit sometimes.
There are a couple of questions that have come up that are quite interesting, and I'm going to bring them both up. Paul, we're over time. Are you good for us to keep going?
Yeah.
All right. Alicia asks, how did you finally discover your gold?
I recognize her.
You definitely do.
Yeah. Hello.
What does that process look like? And David asks a question kind of on the same lines. Is the gold finding a continuum?
It absolutely is. Put back Alicia's question, please.
Sure.
How did you finally discover your gold? I don't think I have finished discovering my gold. You see, the great thing is about the gold that by the time you start finding it, there's always more.
Yeah.
There's always more. Yeah, so there's always a discovery of more gold, because now I'm looking for it in myself. I've not reached this utopian moment where, oh, this is gold and this is what it looks like. No, it's always evolving and developing. And I think that's the great thing. What does the process look like? Maybe the process involved, I know part of the process involved me taking a different approach with my family, because my therapist once said to me that she called me, I'm the reluctant big brother, because I didn't ask to be this big brother. I became this big brother. My parents didn't tell me, oh, you're the big brother now. No. But I felt at some level responsible for my sister.
Before you go any further, can I just ask you to just provide some context there?
Yeah. So my older brother passed away when I was 11 and he was 14. Joanna was 10. and he drowned when we were on holiday. And so obviously one day I'm the middle brother, next day I'm the older brother. Joanna didn't expect it of me. My parents didn't expect it of me, but I think I felt it. I'm sure if you were to ask Joanna, Joanna would say that is an absolute lie. He never helped me as a big brother. I'm sure she would say that.
Joanna, we want to hear from you. Show up. Let us know, please.
No, but I think I internally felt it. And so when my therapist talks about me being the reluctant big brother, I think at some level I had to go through that process of deconstructing that. And that was hard. Every solo I have to do, I'm shaking in my boots. Yeah. Every time I have to go to sing, I'm sitting there saying, okay, maybe they'll just forget that I'm there and the show will just go on and it'll be absolutely fine. You know, every time I have to do something, I'm filled with these nerves to have to do it. But I realize now that actually I can do it and I do it. And I have been doing it. And so the process of discovering my goal meant that I could actually accept that though internally I felt like I didn't want to, though in my head it felt like I didn't want to, but there was also part of me that had to accept that I was doing it anyway and I was doing it great. So my answer to Alicia, in the long way around, my answer to Alicia is you've got to keep testing it, putting yourself in unfamiliar environments. And so you keep pushing your own boundaries. You'll eventually discover what your goal is.
Paul, there was a time earlier in the conversation, you mentioned that at the age of 30, you felt like a man. I'm sure that there are many people who are wondering, what was that pivotal moment? What switched? What changed? What made you, at the age of 30, transition internally from boy to man?
So on my 29th birthday, I stayed inside and I wrote myself a poem. I was not happy about turning 30.
Oh.
So I wrote a poem to myself talking about the fact that I wanted to be a man and blah, blah, blah. I still have it, you know. And I remember reflecting, because I think when you get these milestone ages, you reflect and think, what did I just do? What in the name of God did that 10 years do? Where is it? What did I do?
What have I got to show?
Yes, what have I got to show for it?
Yeah.
And then my grandfather died. And we all went to Grenada. And by this point, my mum had already died. So we went to Grenada. And I remember it was the day of my grandfather's funeral. We were all in the front room. And no, you're not hearing the poem. And I remember my aunt saying to me, Paul, you look after Granny and you lead this funeral. And I had never, ever been given that response, because normally it's my dad.
Yeah, of course.
He's the one that does all them big things.
Yeah.
That big boy behavior. And it was when my aunt said that I then realized that I had a responsibility to all of these women around me, my gran, my aunts, my sister, my cousin. And that was the first day I ever felt like a man. Because I was given a role and a responsibility while also caring. And I could make sense of the two. And something just gelled in that moment. There was a resonance. It's almost like the cognitive dissonance that I'd had before and the compartmentalizing, it just all came together in one. And I felt like I could manage this. And I could do it, yes, for me, but more importantly for them. Yeah, that was, yeah. Yeah, that was, yeah.
I wonder, as you've gone on your journey since you were 30, maybe another 20, 30 years has passed.
Oh.
But since the time that has passed since the age of 30 to wherever you are now, has your definition or understanding of what manhood actually is, has that changed?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
You see, we were taught what this man thing was. We were taught what this man thing was, what it was to be man.
Hmm.
And while I can accept that men prioritize differently than women, in some respects, huge generalization, maybe, yeah. While I can accept that, I also understand that being a man, just like being a woman, is evolving.
Mm.
It doesn't stay the same.
Mm.
Life does not stay the same. So therefore, I can't remain the same.
Mm.
I simply can't. And I think every time I have a moment of understanding and clarity, my definition of man is refined.
Mm.
And I think that's one of the real life lessons that I've really appreciated, that I'm not the same as I was yesterday by virtue of how I live, how I see things, how I live with people. There's a friend of ours who, when she was younger, her mouth was like Satan. Out of her mouth would come justice and sin all at one time. And if you crossed her, you knew. But the mere fact that when the mere fact that now you can see the process of thought. Even last week, I was saying to a friend of mine, my God, you can hear the difference in the way that you would have handled this situation a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
It's the most amazing thing. The moment time we stop evolving and stop improving ourselves is the moment that actually we've stopped living.
Yes.
And there's no benefit. No, we know too many of them people. No. And I think the quicker we understand that I'm not the same as I was yesterday. And so tomorrow, I was saying to a friend of mine a couple of days ago, I think I need to book myself into therapy again. Every couple of years, I'll go and take myself to go and talk about myself for an hour. Help somebody go and fix my thinking. Because these things are normal. What super hell is that? Where I think that I'm going to be fine and everything. Life isn't like that.
No.
Life is not like that. So when you don't know, go and speak to somebody. Go and get a different perspective. I think I calculated that probably in the last. Thank you, Laura. I think I've worked out that probably I've been into therapy every 2 to 3 years, probably for the last maybe 15 or so years, if not a bit more.
But you're a fixer, Paul. Why do you need therapy? You're a fixer. You fix everyone around.
Is because I'm a fixer why I have to. It's because I'm so used to opening my mouth and challenging and blah, blah, blah. Well, who's going to do that to me? Who's going to do that to me? Who's going to help my mind get some kind of clarity? Who's going to be the one that says to you, when I went to therapy the last time, just before I applied for my MBA, and I went and I was having all of this anxiety about what I was going to do.
Yeah.
I was procrastinating, but I was dreaming about doing some stuff, blah, blah, blah. Went in, and there was this little Polish woman, Anna, her name was. And when I saw her, Anna, I looked at this woman and I started to laugh to myself, thinking, what could this little Polish woman, grey haired, what could she do for me? And it wasn't until she asked me one question. And the question was so simple. I don't know what the question was anymore, but whatever the question was, she silenced me. Sometimes we got to shut the hell up and allow somebody else to pour into you. Who just walked in the room?
Aaron self.
Come and say hello, Aaron.
Huh?
Yeah, I think Nay, that's some of where I've learned, because when I've got gold, I have to respect me. And part of me looking after that gold is getting my backside into therapy.
Yeah.
Into going to do something that's just beneficial for me. You know, back when my brother died, you know, we didn't have therapy then.
Wow.
We didn't have that then. But I grew up with all of these issues. Now, every minute something happened to me, or my ears is hurting, or is it cancer? Or when I have this, or is it cancer? Or my teeth hurting me, or I got cancer in my teeth. Like,
I can't stand to say. Cancer in teeth.
It's true. Because at 11 years old, the worst happened.
Yeah.
So now I sit there and I catastrophize.
Yeah.
Every minute I'm making big catastrophe inside my head. Nobody sees it, but that's how I've lived.
Yes.
You know, and so I think that there's part of us that has to just do some self-care. And that means you've got to go and get somebody to talk to.
Yes.
Go and get somebody. I telling all my friends, go and put themselves into therapy.
Absolutely.
If we don't do that, we are not looking after our gold. And then in 30 years' time, 20 years' time, I'm some miserable old beast. And I end up going to find myself back inside church because I'm so frightened of what is to come. So I run back into church. Oh, hell no. No.
Oh, dear Paul, you are too much, man. But I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
No, it's the truth.
And today, that's what I want. I want the authentic, true Paul to show up. And this is not any different to what you do anyway. I think about our conversations. They, you know, I might call you with something specific. You might call me with something specific, but it goes where it needs to go. And we get what we need to get. And, you know, I don't think I've ever left any conversation with you feeling like, ugh. I only get that ugh feeling if you're telling me to change something on my dissertation. Then I just think, oh, but I know he's right. I'm vexed, but I know he's right.
But you see, it's part of the life lessons. This is why I say there's many life lessons. We started off in integrity, then we start about doing self-care and making sure that you're okay. You know, I just think that we learn life lessons as we go through life. One of the things I've learned, which I have to keep reiterating and practicing, is put yourself under pressure in the beginning and it saves you later on down the line. Nay, how many times I tell you that?
I still ain't learned it. You're going to have to keep telling me for another 20 years. I still ain't learned it.
Yeah. Put yourself under pressure now. Because if I do that, it saves me later on down the line. Because I know I am not a lastminute.com person. So I learned that when I was a kid. My sister used to wait and leave. She'd leave all of the dishes to do, you know, until such time.
Yes.
Just before dad come in. I couldn't live like that. I said no. So I would do the thing and do it quick.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that's what I needed to do.
Yeah.
You know, but you see, I took the same thinking as I went through this light and me. I don't care. Damn. I learned the same thing when I was doing my studies.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't put myself under pressure at the beginning, I would be in hell.
Yeah.
So when everybody else was in hell with their dissertation, I was sitting in the pub.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I felt no way. I literally felt no way because it was all going to be all right. I'd done it. I'd finished.
Yeah.
Put yourself under pressure at the beginning. Life lesson.
I think, though, it's self-awareness is a huge piece of that, because like you were saying, you were able to recognize the difference between yourself and Joanna. So Joanna would wait until the last minute, until Des is about to put the key through the door.
To descend.
Whereas
the archangel.
Whereas for you, that would be too much pressure.
Yes.
But here's the thing, self-awareness shows me that I know when I'm under pressure, that's when I perform. Yes. You see, if I know I've got all the time in the world, then I'm going to give you 50%. And that's something that I know I need to work on, but I'm conscious of it. I'm aware of it. Equally, I'm aware that I am a last minute person. I am that pressure gives me an adrenaline rush, and then I'm going to go and knock it out the park. But you have to know yourself in order to be able to be aware of that.
And that's a learning journey too.
Yes, it is.
So if I was to have a conversation with Aaron and Rianne, I would say to them, listen, let's get the homework done now, and then play. But let's get it done now. Well, my parents tried to do that with us. Their way of, they didn't understand enough. They weren't reflective enough, I guess, to know actually that would work for me, but that message was not going to work for Joanna.
Yeah.
So there's two different approaches that have to be done.
Yeah.
They didn't know it at the time, and it is what it is.
But I think, do you know what? I think, one thing my dad has always said to me is that every generation must be better.
Yes.
So you're getting told off now. Just stop telling my business. So, our parents, so for example, and I've shared this before, our parents, well, let me talk about my parents for now. My parents came from a time and a culture, perhaps, where they weren't their parents weren't very tactile with them and weren't overly loving and didn't show love in the way that perhaps I would see today as quite normal. And so then what happened for me growing up is then I saw two different approaches. So my dad mirrored what he saw. So growing up, or what he experienced rather, except for the beating. My dad never beat me. He was on that, thank God. In fact, sometimes I would wish that he would just beat us instead, because a sermon every time.
The big grand sermon.
Just beat me and be done with it. But no, he weren't on that. So, but he would, I guess, he would parent the way that in some ways, the way that he was parented. So I knew that my dad loved me, but I didn't always think that he liked me, because then I saw my mum, who came from a similar background in that didn't get that whole lovey-dovey tactile words of affirmation, didn't that, but then made a conscious decision to be different with her children. So then I got all of that from mum. So then I saw the two, and as a child, well, there's only one explanation. Mum likes me, but dad doesn't.
See, after Nikki died, so I've seen 3 versions of my dad, but I've experienced 2.
Okay.
So before Nikki died, my dad used to rule with the rod of iron. My God.
You know what? I swear to you, I cannot imagine it. I just cannot imagine it.
Listen, and there's one example, because after Nikki died, I couldn't sleep on my own in our bedroom. So me and Joanna slept in the same room.
Yeah.
And my dad came in one night to kiss us before he went to bed. So we were asleep.
Yeah.
And he came over us to kiss me good night. and I woke up screaming.
Wow.
Because I thought he was going to tear off the bedclothes and rain licks because we forgot to wash dishes.
Oh gosh.
After Nikki died, he totally changed. He flipped the script on us. So he wanted to talk to us more. He wanted to give affirmations, and he wanted to, you know, speak love words to us and blah, blah, blah. When now we see him with Ariane, and it's entirely different from what we saw, because him and Ariane are like two all friends, you know, and it is the most beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah.
Because he too has had to learn that life is moving on, and he has adopted a different parenting style than he did with me and Joanna.
Yes, I can certainly relate to that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I look, first of all, I'm of the opinion that grandparents are wimps. Seriously, guys, you don't need to get into it. You lot are wimps. My dad, when I see him with my children now, they are like, he's all over them. They're all over him. And, you know, I remember one time Rianne did something. I don't know what she did. They were in the kitchen. These times when I was still living with them, Dad told Rianne, don't do whatever. Rianne is still going to do it. I don't know where she gets that from. But my dad must have literally did this to her hand. Rianne bowed down the place. You would have think that he punched her in her jaw.
Yeah.
So I turned around to be like, Rianne, what the heck is the matter with you? My dad's like, oh. I'm thinking, what? He's like, I can't beat children. I'm thinking, beat children? He tapped my hands. What the heck? But, you know, it's that, because, you know, I had the discussion. I had the discussion. And here's the other thing as well. And I think this is what I guess I love about our parents, in that the relationship that we have, being able to have that open and honest dialogue. And I say to him, you know, I don't know how old I was, but I was able to articulate and say, do you know what, Dad, I didn't think that you liked me growing up because you didn't do what Mum did. And then I was able to appreciate, well, where he was coming from. And then he was able to share, you know, his childhood and what he went through and the reasons why, I made a commitment to do differently. And then I experienced different, and now I see my children experiencing something different again. And it is really beautiful to watch that growth and that development, everyone getting better.
But how can I, if I don't spend the time reflecting on me? Because we might say we want to do better or be different.
Yeah.
I've actually got to work that out. Otherwise, I'll be saying it with my mouth, but actually operating in exactly the same way. And so there's something about intentionality.
Yes.
Being intentional about how I'm going to be a man. Can I be a man that is intentional? Can things that I think about and people that I'm around and so on, can that all be intentional? Can I choose differently? I am able to choose. I am able to choose. And I think these, again, some of the life lessons that I often hear myself saying in the back of my head. Paul, be intentional about that. Look, you get to choose. Why do you think you have to? No, you get to choose. And now I can say no.
Yes.
And I love saying no now. You don't think it's right? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so interesting, you know, especially during Black Lives Matter, you know, there is a healing that is so deeply needed. I often describe to us as Black people, we're able to be many things. Nay, I can be Black. I can be Black British. I can be African Caribbean. I can be Grenadian. I can also be white. And I can be any of those things all at the same time. Though they know that I'm not white, but I can speak and present myself. We can be all of those things and it's all okay. It's not necessarily the best, you know, where we feel like we have to compartmentalize, but I feel like that's part of who we've been. So let's not struggle about that. We can choose whichever part of me I need to portray at this point.
Yeah.
And I can still fundamentally be me.
And that's okay. And that's okay.
And part of being me is that I'm still learning.
Yeah.
And I'm still developing my goal, and I'm still evolving.
Yeah.
And what I say today may not be what I mean tomorrow, but that's okay too, because I get to change my mind and I get to learn. It's absolutely okay.
I fully embrace my humanness now. I gave myself permission to embrace my humanness. I reserve the right to make a mistake. I reserve the right to try, fall flat on my face, get up, dust myself off, and try again. You know, I reserve the right, as you said, to change my mind. Because I said something last week, I reserve the right to learn new things and with new information, form a new opinion. I don't have to. Go on.
I also get to reject all notions of perfection.
Oh, please. 100%. That's gone. I'm a work in progress and a masterpiece all at the same damn time.
All at the same time. And I'm perfectly at peace with that.
Yeah.
And everybody should be too. And don't put our children under pressure. You can't grow any taller, Shay. You know, and we need to allow our children to do the same thing. My niece going into secondary school, she wants to go and learn cello. We'd spend £200 on shopping. Let us go and buy a cello. She wants to do cello, let us try cello. Because when we grew up, what you said you had to stick to because socioeconomically you had to.
Yeah.
Let her try it.
Yeah.
She don't like it. She don't like it. It's okay.
Yeah.
And if she wants to stick at it, she can stick at it, and we're good too.
Yeah.
I just think there's something about that individualism that really has to be embraced and empowered, because if not, we'll turn around and tell the child, you got short attention span, or you put your mind to something and you never finish. Oh my God. All of these things we're talking into these children's lives.
Yeah.
What is that?
We don't. Here's the thing, and I think if we reflect on our own experiences and keep that at the forefront of our minds, I think we'll be a lot more intentional with how we do speak to our children.
Agreed.
We have to be. If we really love them like the way we say, we have to be different.
But the work starts with me.
Yes. Yes.
Because if I don't reflect and sort out me and my stuff.
Paul.
Yeah.
I've got a couple questions before we wrap this up, because we are way over.
Sure.
But I've enjoyed speaking to you, as I always do. What would Big Paul today say to Little Paul?
He would say to Little Paul, try everything once. Try. Now, trying, Little Paul, means that some things you're going to do good at, some things not going to be okay. But you tried, and you get all the points because you tried. It's not when you win you get the points, and it's not when you lose it gets deducted. Just because you tried, you win. That message is not for everybody.
Okay.
Because Little Paul was a very specific person.
Yes.
That message is not for everybody. But if I'm intentional about knowing that Little Paul was even scared to try, I'd tell him try. In fact, I'd even go and stand with him while he tries it. We'd be like, what do you think? No? Like it? Yeah. Okay, cool. You've done it. Because that was who I was, and I didn't know that.
Wow. I
didn't know that I had permission to try, because I felt everything was black and white, right and wrong. I've learned that there's too many shades of grey in this life.
Shay is I'm supposed to be wrapping up, but Shay has said that we should hear his letter to himself. It's powerful stuff. I'm asking you about it, Paul. Tell me about this letter to yourself.
I'm not telling you like nothing. I get last. Bianca's point, though, trying is so hard sometimes. You're damn right it's hard. Trying is not easy. But that's okay. Like, I think I've worked out that I have a fear of failure and a fear of success. What in the name of it is that? How can you have a fear of failure and a fear of success?
That's how we've been conditioned, Paul.
Right. So therefore, trying is something that that would just work for me.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense, because if you try and you're great, oh Lord, no, that's too scary. If you try and you fail, oh no, I can't take the shame. So what happens? We get trapped in this web of mediocrity, and that becomes the comfort zone.
I can't live like that. No, I can't live like that.
Not anymore.
You know, last year I did. I'll bust it out. Last year I did 3 shows. It was the first faith-led service for people living with HIV. First ever in the world. Right, Phoebes? Exactly. Yes, Shay. Fear of it all. Last year, I did the first show for people living with HIV, church. First in the world. If you go on my social media to go and look.
I'm glad you're going there, Paul.
No, you won't find nothing.
Exactly.
I then produced 10 portraits for this organization that I work for, and it was unveiled at the House of Lords. I curated the thing, put it all up, the space, blah, blah, blah. Nothing on my social media. Then I produced the first show that celebrated BAME people who had died to HIV and AIDS at Shepherd's Bush Empire. Nothing on my social media.
Or website.
Still learning. Still battling that mediocrity thinking that's inside me. Still battling it. Still fighting my own damn self.
But can I just say to everyone else, I'm not talking to Paul right now, he is still fighting it, but he's still great anyway. So you might not see the evidence on a website or on social media or even, you know, you wouldn't know unless either you were there or just like now you've heard it from his own mouth. But I think, where is it? What Shay said, you just got to do it.
Yeah.
And he is just doing it. Despite all of that that's going on inside.
That's inside.
He just does it. Oh my goodness.
Maybe that's the difference.
Go on.
Maybe that's what I've always done. I still do it. I just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the moment when I have to, in the words of David Anderson McQueen, blow my own damn trumpet. Maybe that's what it is. Because I still do it.
You do. And you do it well.
Yeah.
Exceptionally well.
Yeah.
One of the best to ever do it.
Yep. But maybe I just need to celebrate. Yes, Scotty. Yeah. Yeah.
Paul, we've spoken for about an hour and 45 minutes. There are going to be people on here who Maybe some have jumped on a few minutes ago. Maybe some had to leave early. Maybe there's some people who it's just been, you've given so much. It's like, gosh, where do I go from here? People are maybe even still trying to digest everything that you're sharing and that you have shared. Paul, I want to ask, if there was literally one single message that you would want all of us to walk away with, if there was only one thing that you wanted us all to take away from our time together this evening, what would that be?
Try, and I'm going for more than one. Give the damn thing a try. And that means forgetting perfection and being okay with the criticism. I'm constantly battling that. Most of my friends will know that that is, if there was ever real talk, that was it. Try.
Yeah.
And the second thing would be live with absolute integrity, knowing that I have looked after me so I can look after others. That's what I would say. That is what I would say.
The comments are coming in, like I don't even have to say anything. It's been incredible. Thank you. Can you do this every week, please? Tia says she will definitely give it a try. I love that.
I mean, other talks that you've done, they've gone into more details about what trying looks like and be holding yourself accountable. And I think that's the next step, Nay. That's where people would sign up to you and be like, Nay, I need you to hold me accountable.
Yeah.
But try, like, for God's sake, just give it a bash. Just give it a bash. You know, I would never want my little sister and my niece to not ever have felt like they could give it a try. Give the damn thing a try. What's the worst thing that can happen?
That's it. What is the worst thing?
Yeah. Love you, Phoebe Edwards.
People love you, Paul. Thank you for sharing your gold with us today. Before I let you go, I am so passionate about being intentional about celebrating our own people who are within our reach as they are on their journey. I don't think we need to wait for Paul, for your name to be in lights, although they've already been in lights, so to say. I don't think we need to wait for that moment when the rest of the world is acknowledging and applauding and celebrating you. I think we need to do that now, whilst you can hear us, and that's another big thing, and not wait until you're gone before we start to reflect on how amazing that we think you were. So I want to just say, on behalf of everyone who has chimed in tonight, who has tuned in, who has shared, who has commented, who's gotten involved, who've listened, thank you. Thank you for your gold. Thank you for sharing your gold with us. And thank you for your, as Melanie says, you are truly an inspiration. Donna says it's just the words she needed to hear. Thank you. Thank you.
Very welcome, Nay.
But Paul, I want to know, and on behalf of everyone, I guess, is how can we, as we celebrate you, and as we as we celebrate you, as we applaud you, and as we do all of that, I guess I really want to know, for how can people literally support you? What can we do to bring value, or to give back some of the value that you've given us? Is there anything that you've got going on that we can support? How can we connect with you? How could we stay in touch? Let us know what we can do for you. What you've given to us this evening has been so powerful. What can we do for you?
So, a few weeks ago, Nate, you and I spoke about these reflection groups.
Okay. Yes, we
You
did.
don't remember that? No, you don't remember that.
No, I do. 100% do.
Speak the truth.
I know exactly where I was. I was at my mum and dad's house on their bed. I know where we were. Trust me, I remember.
And so I have been putting this together because I've just finished a piece of work about reflection on COVID and so on. And actually, I'm going to ask everybody. See, I shouldn't even say this, because people be messaging me and all kind of thing. And I'm going to put this out there.
Okay.
And so people can share that with their work, because this is all about their organizations pulling people together to hold reflective sessions, and it's called the reflection sessions.
How can we hear more? How can we
It'll
stay
be online soon, man? Ciao.
No, Paul, don't even try it. Sorry, not happening. It's not happening.
Go ahead.
How can we find out when you say it's online? Where? How can people find this thing online? How can we get connected with you, Paul?
It will be done tomorrow. So it'll be online tomorrow.
Okay. You all heard it. It's going to be, what's the date tomorrow? Is it what's the date? Hold on, I know what the date is today. The 20th. So tomorrow, Monday, the 27th of July, it's going to be on. Go ahead. Where?
Online. You're gonna put it into Google, innit? Into Google. Thanks, Liv. So that will be online. I'm still doing coaching, which I still do my coaching, and I take on pieces of work and projects that are all around social impact and driving forward social impact in whatever way, shape or form, whether it's policies, whether it's events and shows, whether it is programs. That's what I do.
And how can people connect with you? Do you have a website? What's your social media? How can we connect?
Social media is probably, I tend not to add people on Facebook. But Instagram, you can find me on Instagram, definitely on Twitter. All going to be
handles. What's the handles?
Paul Boldo, as my name is there.
See it, everybody.
Yeah, but that's how people can find me.
Thank you very, very much, Paul. It's been a pleasure. Listen, I've been looking forward to this since we first talked about this. God, what seems like months ago now. It was literally months ago.
I was outside Charing Cross Hospital when I was talking to you. Thanks, Bianca. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay. So yeah, it was a while ago that we spoke about doing this. And we were very intentional about not even going in our normal conversations, not talking about what we would talk about tonight. Because we wanted it to be authentic. We wanted it to be genuine. We wanted it to be real, not overly scripted. And again, for me, I wanted to be able to stay in the moment and to stay with you and not be concerned about anything else. And so thank you. Thank you so much for your vulnerability, for your honesty, for your transparency. You've poured into so many of us, and many things that you said, if not for anyone else, they were for me, especially about try the damn thing was the worst that could happen.
Yeah.
So thank you. I needed to hear that, and I needed to hear that today. And I'm sure you have ideas as to why, but we can talk about that offline another time.
I can't understand why all of these people here listening to me, like what I got to say, they want to hear.
And let me just say to everyone who is watching, a question has come in. When will you do it again, Paul? When you're coming back?
Love you, Louise, my cousin. Whenever she'll have me back, Louise. Who knows?
He'll definitely be back, I assure you. And to everyone who is watching, again, whether you're watching live or whether you've watched on the replay, thank you so much. Because if it weren't for you, we absolutely simply just wouldn't have a show to even talk about. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. And we are going to be back next week. We're doing the same thing over again. I've got another guest. I think, if I'm correct, next week we're heading over to the USA for another one of my guests who are going to be sharing with us. So thank you all. Stay tuned. We are going to be back right here, same time, 8 p.m. We will not be going for this long. That much I can assure you of. And we're going to be doing that. And yeah, I just want to wish everyone to have an amazing week. You've been given some real gems, some words of wisdom. Don't just hear it and let it just go in one ear and out the other. Honestly, apply these principles to your life and watch your life transform. And understand it's a journey. And you one step at a time, one step at a time. Sometimes you might maybe look at someone like Paul and you'll see where he is and think, oh my goodness, I could never do that. But and I say this time and time again, be careful not to compare your chapter 1 with someone else's chapter 10, 15, 20. Understand that where you are right now, there is value here. There are lessons here that you need to learn, that you need to pick up right now in order to prepare you for the next chapter of your life. So we look at people like Paul for the source of inspiration, while recognizing that he too is on his journey, and therefore we give him the grace, we give him the freedom, we give him the space to make the mistakes, to fall on his face, and not to laugh and mock, but to support him, to help him get back up and keep going. Ultimately, this life that we're in, it's not meant to be done alone. And no man is an island. We do this together, and this is why we come together and we share and we become honest with one another, and we break down the barriers, we lift off our masks, and we just keep it real. So thank you all for being on this journey with us, and thank you for staying with us for 2 hours. Oh my goodness. But it's been a pleasure. Paul, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you. Love you too, Paul. It's been an absolute pleasure. So guys, we'll see you again next week at 8 p.m. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.